Ladies and gentlemen, we're live.
Ladies and gentlemen, my speakers went on me and I didn't hear any of that. All right. Hey, Aaron. Well, I don't know if you met me. I'm Frank Stanisci, and this is Candid Frank Live. And this is a place where we air our views on the Spanglish World Network. And of course, Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me is Aaron William Freeland. Hey, Aaron. My
Hey, Frank.
desktop speakers have said good night. They don't want to play along. So I had to do a little jerry rigging. So now at least it's coming through my monitor, so I can hear you. So I apologize to you and the listeners, viewers, for the little bit of confusion that I was a big part of. But anyway, let's. You want to start with sports or you want to start with news?
Why don't we start with news and then just finish with sports?
Okay, is Trump going to jail?
Eventually, not today, not tomorrow, but hopefully soon. Um, you know,
Boy, oh boy. Let's talk about Canada and the Air Force.
so there was a bit of a kerfuffle with the Royal Canadian Air Force. They finally realized that letting a whole bunch of cock diesel pilots pick their own nicknames is a good way to land themselves in trouble. There was a female fighter pilot that was given a rather homophobic and inappropriate call sign by her fighter pilot mates. As a matter of fact, there's actually been consequences to this already. Her commanding officers have actually been disciplined. Lieutenant Colonel Colin Marks and Lieutenant Colonel Corey Mask have both lost pay and been suspended over the incident. Mask is losing 8 days of pay, and is losing 8 days of pay, and Mask is losing 5. So I guess they finally realized, you can't just sort of sit there and if it's, a homophobic sort of thing, let that pass because boys will be boys. It just doesn't quite work that way. But yeah, it happened in Bagotville in Quebec. So Mask is going to be reassigned, and Marks, who was supposed to be taking care of Bagotville or being assigned to Bagotville, well, that's up to Defense Chief Wayne Eyre at this point. So there are other consequences besides just losing pay.
So what was the news of the story? What was the news story of the year? Freedom Convoy protest.
Yeah, apparently that was the news story of the year. Not necessarily because it was good, but because it dragged a lot of column inches into it. People setting up inflatable hot tubs in the middle of a busy Ottawa street and defecating on the war memorial and defacing and desecrating the Terry Fox memorial and a few other things apparently didn't sit well and generated more headlines than they should. But that was by far the top choice for the Canadian Press news story of the year, as voted by editors in newsrooms across the country.
I'm right here, Aaron. My green screen just fell down.
No, I can still see the green screen, Frank. It's still up.
Okay.
So you appear to be okay there.
I'm behind it right now. Holding it up. There we go. It was hanging by a thread.
Hanging by a clip, eh?
By a thread. Oh.
I believe the word you're looking for there, Frank, is shoestring.
Well, actually, it is a shoestring. It's attached. The shoestring's attached to a push pin. Literally, a push pin is holding it up. Here, I'll show you. Give you a little behind the scenes look, folks. Here we go. We'll give you real quick. We'll give you a behind the scenes look. All right. Let's see. I move this over here a little bit. Then I do this. And let's see. There we go. There's my green screen.
Nice.
And I'm gone now. I can do like a Star Trek thing.
You've just beamed out.
Yeah, I did. Well, my chair is very close to the screen, and I knocked it over, and I undid the underpinning of it, I guess, is what I did. All right, so I apologize for this. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not having a very good. This is our last show for a week. I'm hoping maybe we'll make it 2 weeks the way things are going.
Well, if you want to just push it off and get a fresh start sometime in January, I don't have an issue with
There
that.
you go.
That might be the way
Okay.
to go.
My apologies. Alberta and Saskatchewan, what's going on there?
We're looking at a polar bomb that's currently over the Midwest. Basically, you're looking at a polar vortex that's going to bring temperatures down into the minus 30s and minus 40s. There is a
Yikes.
chance for the Fahrenheit and Celsius scales to sync up at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, it's it's a rather bizarre temperature pattern that's settled in over Edmonton and Calgary and is heading towards Regina. So that's going to be interesting for folks out there. So for most of Alberta and Saskatchewan throughout the week, we're looking at the minus 20s, folks. So bundle up. Make sure that you stay warm.
Absolutely. Oh, let's go about sports here. And we saw there was a threat that the two Canadian group members were about to do something really good. It didn't happen. Instead, the South American Italian team won.
Yeah, those displaced folks from Argentina there ended up taking it. Now, here's the thing, though. France wasn't the only one to lose any money. Drake actually lost $1 million as well.
What did he lose it for? The over/under?
No, he placed a bet on Argentina to beat France in regulation, but unfortunately, because they were tied at the end, he ended up losing the bet.
The last time Argentina won, they had a 2-0 lead. That was with Maradona on the team. They had a 2-0 lead, and then they allowed themselves to be tied, and then they won. This time they were ahead by 2. They allowed themselves to be tied, and then they went ahead and then got tied again. And then unbelievably, I mean, that was wow. I mean, you wonder about how hard it is to stop a penalty kick. And then you watch this and don't wonder so much anymore.
Yeah, it's even though the nets are absolutely huge, the goalie in general still has a 1 in 5 chance of stopping the shot. Unless you're kicking it wide or high, they still have a relatively decent chance of making the save. So,
So Croatia beats Morocco 2-1, the two teams that were in the Canadian group that knocked out Belgium.
That group of death?
Yeah. The group of bye-bye.
But yeah, it was interesting to see them actually playing for third place like that, officially playing for third place when there's no trophies for it. It's not like they're giving out silver and bronze medals, right? So
absolutely. Well, they say they are. They're calling them the bronze medal game. It was the bronze medal game. Yeah. Let's go to hockey and let's talk about the Habs. And they played the Tampa Bay Lightning.
It did not end well for Montreal. Brandon Hagel had a 3-point night as the Tampa Bay began a 4-game road trip with a 5-1 win over the Habs on Saturday. So Hagel actually hit a milestone with his first goal when he reached the 100-point mark in the NHL. He didn't realize that he'd actually come that far. He said, I wasn't even sure, maybe. I guess it was 100. I mean, it's crazy from how it started and the ups and downs I've been through to finally get that. That's pretty cool. John Cooper wasn't a fan of how the team started, but said that Hagel's goal was the kickstarter for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was all downhill for them from there.
Let's talk about the Sens.
So they had a busy weekend. They opened against the Red Wings. Batherson helped them beat the Red Wings 6-3 for their 4th straight win. But unfortunately, the next day, Kaprizov led Minnesota to a 4-2 win over the same Senators. So it was a weekend of ups and downs for them. Glad to see that they're getting a few more wins under their belt, but also at the same time, not so much.
Let's go to Winnipeg. What's going on there?
So McCann got a late goal to give Seattle the win. It's interesting to see how far Seattle has come from where they were last year to 10th or 11th place in the league so far this year. Jared McCann got the late game winner. Jordan Eberle and Ryan Donato also scored for the Kraken, and Grubauer stopped 15 shots, with both Winnipeg goals coming on the power play. So total that game, he only faced 17 shots, which was a very, very low event hockey. But Scheifele and PLD were the usual suspects for the Jets. and Rittich actually had 32 saves in that game. So good to see him having a little bit more luck, but not necessarily the luck that he wants.
The Flames finally won.
Yeah, this is good. They finally beat the Sharks. I think everybody's been beating the Sharks this year, but there is some consolation to be had in the Flames getting another win under their belts. They've been having a bit of a tough go of it lately. It's been seesawing up and down for them. So, getting a win here and there definitely helps their cause. But 5-2 was definitely convincing. Tyler Toffoli had a goal and assist, and Milan Lucic and Dylan Dubé also scored. This helped snap a five-game losing streak for them. Markstrom had 23 saves for his 9th win. And this is the start of a rare 2-game series between the clubs in San Jose.
Do you think the Montreal Canadiens missed Tyler Toffoli?
It's entirely possible that he may be slightly missed, yes.
Let's go to the Oilers.
So the Ducks have actually managed to get a couple wins in a row during regulation now. One of their most recent victims was the Canadiens, and now they've won 4-3 over the Oilers. John Klingberg scored the tie-breaking goal early in the third period, and Lucas Dostal stopped 46 shots as the Ducks beat the Edmonton Oilers 4-3 on Saturday. Strome, Carrick, and Fowler also scored for the Ducks, and Mason McTavish had 2 assists. Darnell Nurse, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Connor McDavid scored for the Oilers, who've lost 3 of their last 4, so that's a bit of an issue. Draisaitl has 2 assists, and Stuart Skinner finished with 13 saves. Speaking of Stuart Skinner, on to the next one here. He's actually signed an extension with the Oilers. He's got a 3-year contract extension with them. I know that when they signed Jack, they were expecting something a little bit different. Unfortunately, it didn't appear that they got that. So Skinner's been signed to a 3-year, $7.8 million contract extension. Now, Skinner's 9-8-0-1 this year with a goals against average of 2.85 and a save percentage of .915. So he's just a little bit over league average. But it's good to see that this Edmonton draftee from 2017 is actually signing for a little bit more term with the big club.
Panic. Canucks.
Canucks. Here we go.
Connor extends streak.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets handed Vancouver a bit of a lopsided loss. They put the hurt on them 5-1. Kyle Connor had a goal and an assist. It's a great response and a bounce back that they had. Gagne also scored and had a helper for the Jets, while Capobianco, Pionk, and Janssen Fjordby also added goals, and Pierre-Luc Dubois added 3 assists. So well-balanced effort for the Jets, not so good for the Canucks.
Let's go to the Leafs, and it appears the Leafs are on a 2-game losing streak. I think the Stanley Cup parade can be canceled.
I think it's safe to say that it can be mothballed for another year. I think the closest the Leafs are ever going to come to it is going to be at the Hockey Hall of Fame. It is what it is. Eric Gustafsson got his first career hat trick. So there was the Leaf killer for the night was Eric Gustafsson. As opposed to Ovi being the usual Leaf killer. Didn't end well for Toronto, unfortunately, but that's all right. There's still plenty of season left. There's lots of runway and lots of cliff for the Leaf truck to fall over. So I'm not going to panic just yet.
Dennis Mulligan gets traded. I find that peculiar. He seemed like a guy that the coach really liked.
Well, I mean, he sort of inherited his spot for the past couple of games because Yarncroke had been injured and other players hadn't necessarily worked out on the left-hand side. He found himself on the second line with Tavares and Marner. The unfortunate thing was it just didn't seem like anything was working for him up there. He did well in the Swiss League. He was his team's leading scorer for a season or two, but when it came down to it, I don't think he had what they were looking for. They managed to pick up a guy by the name of Dryden Hunt for him when they traded him to the Avalanche. Now, Hunt's only had 14 goals and 42 points in 193 regular season games with the Panthers, Coyotes, Rangers, and Avalanche. So he's been around a bit. But this is a guy who, from what I've seen when I've seen him play, he's tenacious and he's hard on the puck. He's got hands of stone, so he's not going to get you anything unless you're bouncing it off him in front of the net. But his puck pursuit below the goal line and behind the goal is apparently excellent, which is what they're looking for a left winger for the second line, apparently.
Well, I'm surprised. I was actually, at least early in the season, I was impressed by Dennis Malgin. Not so impressed now. So have you watched the January 6th thing?
I watched parts of it, haven't watched all of it. I mean, most of it seems to be the same. What did I miss?
Oh, nothing. Just they're four different charges they're suggesting should be levied against Donald Trump. And this, Aaron, this is going to be this is what gives us, your average folk, if I can put us in that group, our faith in the political system. It's been eroded away by the fact that it seems like there's no rhyme or reason for why things happen. Now, I'm not suggesting anything the January 6th committee, select committee's done is untoward. It's what's going to happen now that they've done all this stuff, and they've done a great job, in my opinion, of letting the Republicans themselves speak to the issue. It isn't like there's Democrats they're putting down Republicans, or it's other Republicans. Now we're going to end up, the House is going to change hands in a few weeks, and they promise to have a slew of investigations. And we're going to see the same kind of investigations we see all the time, the ones that lead nowhere, that there's no there, if I can use that term. We saw it with, President Obama, who was actually born in Hawaii. He wasn't born in Nigeria. And now we're going to go through a wave of at least 2 years of real stupid talk. So how do you judge and or take in, without throwing up, some of this information that's going to be coming? Because we've seen it before. We're going to see it again.
A lot of the defense for this is, well, you can't directly point to it. Stochastic terrorism is something that's very, very difficult to prove because there's no solid way to link somebody's verbal words to the actions of individuals who may have been inspired by them. So that is a difficult road that the DOJ is going to have to hoe. But as it currently stands, with the way that these committees are being run, what they're basically doing is they're letting everybody. This is like Festivus and the airing of grievances. They're giving the Republicans the opportunity to air their grievances over their latest failed presidential bid. This could turn into a stock and pillory party for Donald Trump if they feel disenfranchised enough. I mean, we mentioned before that Kristen Sinema had decided to sit as an independent, and Joe Manchin was looking at that himself. Those are the most.
But he said he's not leaving
Democrats.
the Democrats. But he said he's not leaving the Democrats.
He said he hasn't. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, his opinion changes on an almost daily basis when it comes.
Well, I don't think it's his opinion that changes. It's his politicization of the Senate and how he wants to get reelected. So he has to do stuff sometimes that, he's in a Republican state. The House is Republican, the governor's Republican. It's Republican from top to bottom. Yeah. So, you should know that, you should be able to guess that he's going to have a different attitude than most Democrats. The same way that you get some, I think what we've seen, in a way, in my opinion, is, how we've seen the Republican wave that was supposed to happen and it didn't. But where it did happen is where the extreme left lives, and that's deep in the heart of New York State, New York City, those places, we saw a lot of Democrats lose. Like, I think they were surprised that they actually lost there, and I think they lost for the same reason the Republicans didn't make the big gains they made. It's what I always talk about: the far left and the far right are becoming clearly something your average citizen wants no part of.
No, it's entirely possible, and you may eventually find the far right and the far left enmeshed in the horseshoe effect. It's
Yeah.
entirely possible that these two individual groups may end up sounding more like each other in the shape of a giant horseshoe than not. It's something to look at, and something to
We'll find
consider.
out.
But yeah, they've referred Trump for 4 separate criminal charges. We'll have to see if that actually goes anywhere.
Yeah, and then his taxes are out, and they're voting on whether they should make them go public.
I don't see why not. Every other president has. He's got nothing to hide, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Aaron, thanks for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me, Frank.
We're going to take a short break, folks, over the holiday. Aaron and I are going to chill, sit by the fireplace, have a drink, and enjoy the time off. And I ask you all to do the same thing. Enjoy however you celebrate the holidays. I lit my menorah today for my Jewish friends. Well, however you celebrate Christmas, whether it's with Santa Claus or Jesus himself, however you celebrate, I hope your celebrations go well and you get a chance to get together with those that you love and care about, and it all ends up the way you want it to be. And I hope, my biggest hope is for those of you who may not think it's the greatest of times, seek out a friend. Assume you do have friends. Don't assume that you don't, and talk to somebody before you start thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking about because you have more value than you realize.
Most definitely.
I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland. This show's on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.